So today I have the pleasure of talking to Sarah. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself to and your business to the community?
Yeah, of course. Hi, I'm Sarah Taylor Robinson, and I have a fairly new startup business called Big Sister Productions. I create content for businesses of all different types, but one of the things I specialise in is mobile video making. So whereas with lots of filming that takes place, you'll find a film crew and big cameras and lights and everything like that. When I go out to film with a client at their premises or at their offices, it's basically me and my mobile phone.
Oh, wow.
And a tripod or a gimbal, depending upon what I'm doing. And that allows me to keep my costs down, which I can obviously pass on. And what I want to do with that is to try and help those businesses, particularly startups, perhaps medium-sized businesses, who they don't need a really top-end, high-quality, it's going for awards at Cannes type a film or video, which can cost quite a lot of money. And I want to be able to help businesses access the benefits of video for use on their social media, for use on their websites, at a cost that they can afford and in a way that's going to get them some benefits.
Amazing. How did you start the business? I've got so many questions. How did you start?
Well, I actually left full-time employment just over 12 months ago. And prior to that, I've worked in communications for almost 30 years with companies like Barclays, BP, and latterly Shell. Shell was the last company that I worked for. And I did a lot of work in internal communications, and internal communications often is it doesn't get as much budget for things as a lot of the external communications.
So true.
So I found that when particularly senior leaders, when they wanted to do videos, I couldn't go to the film department and get a director and a producer in. There just wasn't budget for that. So we came up with using our smartphones. So I've been using my smartphone to film senior leaders in companies for quite a few years now. And when I made the decision to take voluntary redundancy from Shell, I wondered whether I could actually, make use of that skill that I'd developed externally as well.
Yeah.
And help. Me being a small business, and my father and my grandfather ran their own small businesses. It's kind of, they're the people that I want to help. I want to work alongside them. And video is such an important part of a business's marketing these days, and there are so many stats which demonstrate this. So things like if you have a video on your website, it can increase your conversion rates by as much as about 80%. Also things like around about 54% of consumers, they actually want to see more video content from brands and from businesses that they use. In the research that I've been looking at in a company called Wise Owl, they're saying that about 78% of businesses who use video say that it leads directly to more sales. So it's an incredibly important part of any business's marketing mix, and how they show up in front of their customers, their potential customers, and even their employees.
Amazing. Who knew? And how are you finding it as a new startup with your all that inside knowledge and experience and being a startup? How are you finding the transition?
It's a lot harder than I thought it would be. And lots of people told me that it's hard. There's so many things to think about. Not just how I do things for my customers and the processes that I put in place, but how do I run my businesses? How do I make sure that I'm doing my marketing right You know, am I doing enough video, which at the moment I'm not. I need to do more of that. So, you know, when I'm telling people who I'm talking to, you know, I'm telling myself as well. But I'm having such fun in, you know, learning what it's all about to run my own small business, being able to talk with other people in small businesses in all sorts of different types of industries. That's fascinating. I think one of the reasons that I worked in communications for so long, and effectively still am, is that I'm kind of nosy. I like talking to people and finding out what they do and why they do it and how they do it, and I get to do that. And I'm loving working out, you know, how do I make this thing work? How do I get the right processes in place? How do I make sure, you know, things like getting paid on time and what insurance is to me, there's so much to think about. But what I've also found is that there is loads of help out there. You've just got to go out and grab it, really. So both, not just online, but locally as well. There's lots of help out there. So I'm drinking from the fire hose daily, and you know, making mistakes along the way, but it's great fun.
Yeah, amazing. And what's been your biggest learning since you started your business?
Oh, that's a good question. My biggest learning. So I made a pretty huge mistake when I was first kind of dabbling in starting up my business and thinking about, you know, how is this going to work, and kind of can I do it? And before I got started, kind of like officially, I started to look for some clients. Now every single website that I looked on, every webinar that I went to, they all said, make sure you have your contracts in place and upfront. And I ended up finding a client who I was just so excited about working with. I didn't do that, in spite of all that advice and it there in black and white. The excitement of working for a business that I thought was doing some really, really good work, and I got on so well with them, I just didn't follow that advice that I'd been given, and I got burned for it.
Oh no.
So there's probably two things that came out of that, right? The first thing is that advice is there for a really good reason. So don't think that you necessarily know better. Follow that advice, and even if, like in the situation I was in, even if you're perhaps you're not as comfortable as you're going to get to around saying, right, okay, this is what it's going to cost. You know, this is how much you'll need to pay me. Even if you're not comfortable in doing that, follow the advice that you've been given, and you know, believe what those people who have been there before you and done it before you are telling you. And the second one is, I was still very much, I think, in the mindset of an employee. There was a big shift that I had to make between working for someone in that employer-employer relationship and working for someone as a small business providing a service to another business. And I fell into the trap of starting to go back to thinking like an employee. So that making that mindset shift, which I didn't do at first, that was a massive learning for me, and actually now has helped me to look at what I do and how I talk to people, how I interact with them in a very different way.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it will definitely resonate with so many people. So thank you so much. And
I hope so. If I can save someone else from going through what I went through, then great. So
perfect. And we'll happily take that advice. And the next one is the difference in picking up on what you said about employee versus self-employed and that area. How do you now switch off? Now it's yours, and it's that you work, when to stop working and when to, enjoy the other part of the world.
How do I switch off? Sometimes I don't. But not necessarily, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I find that I'm loving what I'm doing. So it's very different from waking up and thinking, oh, I've got to go to work today. I find that I'm like, there's stuff going around in my head all the time, and ideas and for things that I'm putting together for clients, as well as like new ideas for things that I can do. So a lot of that goes around in my head, when I'm washing up, when I'm walking the dog, when I'm having a shower. So but I love that. I love that whole ideation process. And waking up in the morning and thinking, oh, yes, I've got to do this today, or is very different from waking up thinking, oh, I've got to go to work. So switching off is very different for me now. But I learned a lot during the period of COVID when I was working so I worked full time through COVID at home. And so I learned a lot then about things like taking regular breaks, getting away from the computer screens, and what I've realized in what I'm doing now, where there is a lot of trying to come up with ideas and thinking things through, is that often that will happen in my head when I'm off doing other things. So what I tend to do is I have a little software program on my computer, which pops up every now and then and tells me, you've been working for a bit long, you really need to take a break.
Oh, wow.
I have my Apple Watch as well, which tells me when I should be standing up, which I don't always take notice of, but little things like that, little prompts to remind you that, sometimes your brain needs a break. And then I try to, so I have a like an office, a little study here, which means that when I go out of here, I can shut the door. That I find helps a lot. So when I get to a point in the evening and I'm like, okay, I need to finish now, I can shut the door and, it's not staring me in the face all the time. And scheduling the life out of myself, I think is really important. So, when I look at my diary for the week, I don't just schedule in to my diary, if I'm going out to see a client, or I'm going to a networking event, or I've got to work on this particular project then, I've got to work on, that particular editing then. I also include things like, I schedule in taking the dog for a walk, I schedule in lunch, I schedule in dinner, even if sometimes I have to come back after dinner just to finish a couple of things off, but I schedule that all in. And it means that because I've done that as well, when I go away from my desk and I take the dog out, or I go away and I have my lunch, I'm not thinking, oh, I should be working. It makes it easier for me anyway to go, right, this is what I'm doing now, I'm off for lunch, and then I come back and I'm back into work mode.
Amazing, thank you. So many little learnings. What's the name of the software that you use?
It's called Rise, R-I-Z-E.
Rise, definitely. Definitely gonna have a look at that.
It's very new, and I got it from a place called AppSumo, which is a great marketer, Noel Kogan. Is it Noel Kogan? I've probably got his wrong name now. Noel Kagan, brilliant. And he set up this business, and basically it allows people who build software and build courses, loads of things, and they're trying to get it off the ground. They can offer that at discounted rates or lifetime rates to people who are willing to come along and try it out. You know, it's not 100% sometimes, but you work with them and give them feedback, and it helps them to develop, and you potentially get a really good deal. And there are some very big companies out there that have started with them. And yeah, so I'm still learning it, but the pop-ups are great. So
yeah, that's, I think everybody needs to just get up and move about a bit more sometimes.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then my last question, really, because we've covered so much, it's been brilliant. If you're looking back on your journey, if you had to sum it up in 3 words or a short paragraph, short sentence, short paragraph, how would that look?
Ooh. Oh, blimey. Yeah, 3 words. There are 3, some of them aren't quite one word, but there are kind of three things. I'd say belief, comfort zone, and follow the process.
Oh,
so
wow.
belief, you have got to believe in yourself. No one else is going to. And if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. And there are days when I sit and I think, what the hell have I done? What am I doing? And times when yeah, I do doubt myself, but you've got to shake that off, and you've just got to keep going. You've just got to keep feeding that belief in yourself, and find people who you can surround yourself with who are like-minded, who will encourage you. That's the first one. The second one is comfort zone. You've got to get out of it. Right, you're never going to fuel that belief. You're never going to fulfill that belief unless you get out of your comfort zone, and it's scary. And you feel like you're falling from a 3,000 foot plane with no parachute, and what you want to do is just, you know, stay in bed. But getting out of your comfort zone is where all of your learning takes place. It's where you grow. It's where the magic happens in making your business what it is, that vision that you've got in your head. And then the third thing is follow the process. You've just got to put the things in place that you know you need to do, and do it. Just do it. Don't, yes, you have to have a kind of goal and a vision that you want to go for, but once you've set that, it's those little things that you do day in, day out, every day, those little steps that will get you towards that end vision, that end goal. But you won't get there unless you follow the process. You make those steps every day, and you know, 1% every day. There's a quote somewhere. You know, if you just improve 1% every day, it you know, by the end of the year, your improvement is sort of sky high. And I firmly believe in that. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sarah. That wraps us up today. Great job.